What's going on, everybody? This is Brittany Barbieri, back at you with another episode of Get Weird. Yes, well, I can tell you 26 has already started off very weird with an Arctic blast in Florida experiencing snow and highs of like 32. I don't know what happened. I think Florida's drunk. Half of the United States, I think, might actually be drunk. I'm not sure, because the weather sure is. This week's episode is really cool. We got the Super Bowl coming in this Sunday. If your team is in the Super Bowl, awesome. If not, I'm very sorry. There's always next year. We are a football family, so I understand. I feel you. My husband's team is, however, in the Super Bowl. So I won't tell you which team, because I don't want to make enemies here. It is a big deal. And so, anyhow, I am going to get weird. Let's get weird. Let's just get into it. This episode is actually dedicated to Jim. You know who you are. Thank you for pointing this out as a fantastic episode because of the location of where the Super Bowl is being held this year and what shares the same territory of that location. So let's kick it into another episode. Here we go. So what if I told you there's a house with staircases that lead straight into ceilings, doors that open into thin air, nothing there, windows that are built basically into floors, and a woman who spent 38 years of her life building nonstop to keep the ghosts from killing her. Now, you might think, this is like a horror movie. What is Brittany talking about? Is she talking about a script or something from some horror movie or some weird tale? No, my friends. This place is very, very real. In fact, my friends, many, many moons ago, when I lived out in California, bought me tickets to go inside this location. And I was so pumped. I was so excited. Got out of work, rushed up there. Horrible traffic. There was actually, I think it might have been an accident too. And it's California. And by the time we got there, they had closed. They were very nice. They gave me a rain check. But unfortunately, I was never able to fulfill that rain check and go back inside. So they gave me a tour of the property, the outside of the building, and basically gave me a really cool tour of understanding about the location and where it was built. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, some of you may have already picked up on it. Listen, we're going to get weird inside the Winchester Mystery House. That's right. Where architecture literally makes no sense. Spirits allegedly roam freely on the grounds, inside, come and go wherever they want. And grief may or may not have literally built a maze. I'm just saying. I don't know. But let's take it back. Let's talk about who Sarah Winchester is. Now, this is very much the human part of the story that I'm going to tell you. It is a little unsettling, but it is the human part of the story. So Sarah Winchester was married to none other than William Winchester. That's right, the heir to the Winchester Arms Company. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The beautiful Winchester rifle. That was famously known as the gun that won the West. Yeah, well, tragedy hit the family. Sarah and William's infant daughter unfortunately died. William later died from tuberculosis. And Sarah was suddenly extremely wealthy, deeply grieving, and very much alone. So according to the legend, and what people say as well as those that post all over Google, Sarah consulted a spiritual medium that was based in Boston. And the message, of course, at the time, this is where she lived, at the time, the message received from the spirit realms to the medium to tell Miss Winchester was that these spirits that were coming forward were the ones that were killed by none other than the rifle itself, the Winchester rifle. And they were very angry, and they were coming for her. So the medium told her this is what she needed to do to keep the spirits happy and not wanting to kill her. It was that she must move to the West. She needs to build a house there, but never stop building. The construction can never end. So she did exactly what the medium said. She believed her. She believed everything that she was told. And this would be her life, moving to the West and starting construction on a home that would never stop. So the house, however, seems to make no sense to anyone. Okay? Sorry. It's a day. And the NyQuil hasn't fully caught up to me yet. In 1886, I believe, Sarah bought a farmhouse in San Jose, California. Then she did something no architect would have ever recommended. She built and built and built and, well, continue building more and more to this property for 38 years. Day and night. There was a day crew and a night crew. No break. No master blueprint. Zero. And no final plan. Okay? Workers were reportedly hired in rotation shifts to do construction nonstop around the clock. Okay? So we're talking constant work, day in and day out, because that is what she was told to do. At its peak, the house had 160 plus rooms, 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, staircases that literally went to nowhere, like up into a ceiling or up into a door, and you open the door and it's a wall. Okay. Also doors that go straight down, just so you know, straight down into like a cement. What is this? Like nothing, just nothingness. Okay. Some stairs would rise just a few inches high, likely because Sarah suffered from arthritis later in her life. So they believe that some of the architecture like that was to help appease her and the ache of her body. And then, of course, the seance room. Sarah reportedly met with spirits at midnight, receiving instructions, room by room, on what to build next from these alleged spirits. So she was haunted and tortured relentlessly mentally by these spirits. Each morning, she'd basically hand builders new plans. This is what is being asked. This is what is going to be fulfilled for these spirits. Plans that made absolutely no logical sense to the construction team, and they were not to ask. They were just supposed to do. You are just supposed to build whatever I tell you that these freaking spirits want you to build. Okay, no questions asked, just go. Hammer away. Bye-bye. Okay. Now let's get into the why is this like this portion of the house, right? Like, why is this room like this? Okay, so staircases that lead to nowhere. Some stairs literally end at the ceiling, okay? Others twist awkwardly for no reason. The popular belief of the background of this is that they were meant to confuse the spirits. Okay, that's a popular belief. That is what is also taught at the Winchester Mystery House as an alleged explanation for why the staircases do certain things. Doors to death is what it's called. Okay. They say this because there are literally doors everywhere in this house that make no sense. Literally no sense. One door on an upper floor opens straight out. Okay. No balcony, no landing. Literally just on the side of the house, straight drop to your death. Just so you know. So don't go out that door. Was that a mistake? I don't think so. Or was it a trap for something that wasn't human? Like, if you think about it, like, so if spirit, I don't know, folks, I don't know. My brain starts going back and forth between what I personally think from the spirit realm versus what the majority thinks of the spirit realm versus what other investigators think of the spirit realm. So you could say this to somebody, they could say, oh, well, it's because, it's to trap the spirit into this relentless cycle of going out the door, falling into the ground, going through the dirt, back up into the house. Huh? Or it could be, I don't even know. How do you logically explain that? You can't. I just think, okay, I'm going to move on before I say something else. The number 13 obsession within the house. This is actually a real thing. Sarah was obsessed with the number 13. So the 13 bathrooms, windows with 13 panels, 13 steps on the staircases. This is true. 13 hooks in the seance room. She was literally obsessed with the number 13. Now, is this a coincidence or is this part of the ritual? I don't know. Honestly, who knows? I don't know. Nobody knows. Now, earthquake, 1906. A massive earthquake did damage the house, and Sarah sealed off several rooms afterwards, including the front entrance, believing that the spirits were angry with her. So she closed it off. And she never really explained why. So, who really knows? Okay, who really knows? Maybe she was right. Maybe they really were. I don't know if they were really scared. Nobody really knows. We're going to get into the paranormal experiences and the reports on the Winchester Mystery House. Let's let's talk about why people still whisper in this house. First of all, visitors and staff have reported footsteps in empty hallways, cold spots with no explanation whatsoever, doors slamming on their own, which is really creepy because half these doors literally go nowhere. So some of them I can't explain why they would even slam by themselves. Voices and whispers, especially in the seance room. Now, it makes sense in the seance room because that is a place that you're conjuring the spirits. You're bringing the spirits to you to speak. So I'm not surprised that you would hear voices or whispering coming from this said room, the seance room of the house. There is a spirit that is commonly reported, okay? A man believed to be a former construction worker on the site, often seen carrying his tools and then vanishing. This is a very common report of seeing this contractor, this construction worker. And that's interesting to me because why would we see a former work? I mean, I guess until he just worked until he died. But I mean, it's a permanent job. You get paid. Your family just, you either work the day shift or the night shift. You know what I mean? There have been reports of security guards that have quit after working night shifts and never really explaining why. They just said they never want to come back and work for the property ever again after what they experienced or saw. Tour guides claim certain rooms even feel angry, like going in there. They feel unwanted. They feel the need to get out. They feel the need that something is telling them that they're not welcome there, and it feels very angry, disruptive. In some cases, some have been reported of being like walking into a room and feeling very confused all of a sudden. Well, I can explain that. You walk into a room and there's like there's no logic to the room. You're all of a sudden going to be very confused. You're confusing your brain anyway. That's just my opinion. Skeptics, however, who enter joking about this house or joking about, in the winter, they actually end up leaving and they leave quiet from what they've experienced. This is all other reports of people that walked in as a skeptic and left a believer, which I think is super cool when that happens. I love when that happens. I love when I take a non-believer on an investigation to a extremely haunted location for whatever reason, and instantly they're just like, oh my God, I had an experience. I believe you now. I love those moments, the humbling moments, the psychological humbling moments of somebody. So whether, of course, this is paranormal, psychological, or whatever, but the house feels wrong. The way that it's built, everything. It's claustrophobic at some points. The emotional attachments to the home. I mean, you think about it. We've got a lot of metals and materials in that house that are harboring a lot of this energy. It would make sense to me. And some researchers actually believe that the haunting isn't about the gun victims at all, but more or less Sarah herself now at this point, feeling as if her job is still needing to be done, that those spirits are not even haunting anymore, that it could possibly be Sarah herself. A woman who was full of grief and guilt and fear that has been driven into the wood, the glass, even the nails, for God's sakes, for nearly 4 decades into this home. Do you know what I mean? Like, we are talking about a lot of her energy just being pushed into the fibers of this home. So is that possible? Yeah, I could see. I mean, there was a report. Somebody had seen what they saw, or they claimed to have seen like a woman. I know you're going to laugh at this, but like a woman in black, like in grieving, walking through the hallway. But the hallway that they were walking through has no entrance and no exit. So it's just kind of like a meaningless hallway with no real place to go. And you can see it through the window. And reports have come through, and they're like, there was nobody there. There was nobody cleaning and checking the house. And that's not really a room that you can just easily walk into. I don't know. Was it her? Who knows? Could have been. Could have been a manifestation of her in some negative energy. So, I mean, who knows? Was Sarah mad? Or was she actually just misunderstood? This is where the part of the history gets very interesting and historic. And some historians will argue this. Sarah was a very intelligent woman, okay? She was very passionate about architecture, and she was simply experimenting here, okay? Based off of the knowledge, right, that she's saying. So that's what some historians believe, okay? She was experimenting with architecture because she had a passion for architecture, okay? And she was extremely intelligent. She knew exactly what she was doing and really wanted to push. Now, there are others that will counter that and say that she truly believed in spirits, that they really guided her. She believed in the other world. She was not mad. She was not driven into madness. This was pure survival, believing that the spirits were going to come from her or come for her for what her husband had created with this incredible Winchester rifle. And then, of course, there is the third opinion out there that circles on the web and through Reddits and conversation posts and Facebook posts is that the house wasn't, so if the house wasn't built to trap spirits, okay, was it to give them somewhere to stay? Was it being built to give them somewhere that they on this earth could call their own and not have to travel in and out to other places? So what if Sarah wasn't running from these spirits? Okay, what if she wasn't trying to hide within the fear of that they were going to kill her? But what if she was okay living among them and building a home for them because she felt sorry for what had happened to them in their life, that they had died by the hands of a person holding a Winchester rifle? These are honest to goodness thoughts that we can stop and think about. And in closing, I'll leave you with this. The Winchester Mystery House, it's not truly scary because of the ghosts or the stories that roam within it about the voices, the footsteps, the apparitions that are seen, and so forth. What makes it scary is because it's like a physical monument, in a sense, to grief, the belief of something so tragic, of these weapons taking these lives, and obsession, all in one building. So you have a ton of emotions being fueled into this building, into this location, okay? And of course, this is also a place where logic kind of failed, but faith didn't. Okay, so even though this architecture logically to the modern person, to the normal person, it doesn't make sense. Her believing in building this structure for these spirits to keep her alive and to keep them happy, it didn't fail her there. It did not fail Sarah Winchester there. And whether you believe in the paranormal or not, this house will always continue to prove to all of us one particular thing. When humans are broken enough, they can build worlds that don't obey reality in the world that we live in. And that, well, I don't know, folks. It's pretty damn weird. I said it. So, would you go into the Winchester Mystery House, whether you're a believer or a skeptic? Perhaps you're heading over to stay the weekend to go see the football game, to go be a part of the Super Bowl. You bought your tickets, but you have an extra day. Just up the road is the Winchester Mystery House. You can't miss it. It's a beautiful home. It's gorgeous. Even though the architecture is strange, there is beauty within that strange atmosphere. There is this sense of peace in this architecture as well, and grief, but an odd peace. And if you don't believe me, please go. Drive up, park your car, and even if you don't go inside, just stand on the ground, put your feet on that gravel, touch the grass. Look at the water, the little fountain where the water comes out of, if it's still there. Haven't been there in a while. And take a look at the house. Sit quiet. I know it's hard because it is a little busy streets. But I do dare you to do it if you're going up there. I do. Why not? If you can go inside, fantastic. If they have tickets, I'm telling you, go. Go experience the Winchester Mystery House. Take in the history from the tour guides. Ask the right questions. Talk to them. Ask about their experiences. What do they believe? Do they think Sarah is still there? But I will tell you, oddly enough, there's this quiet sense of peace there. And perhaps I sensed that when I was there because Sarah was finally at peace. She wasn't being tormented by what she believed was an obligation to these ghosts anymore. I mean, there's still It still seems to be very much alive at that location. It does seem like the work is never finished. And so perhaps she was meant to build it for that reason. Maybe it is their train station. Maybe she successfully built a spiritual train station so that the spirits can come and the spirits can go. Who knows? But if you're in the area, I suggest you go. Thanks for listening to another episode of Get Weird. And until next week, as I like to always say, stay curious, stay wild, and stay weird, my friends.